For 3 years, Janis Joplin was the biggest female rock star in the world. Then, in 1970, she was gone at 27. Left behind an unfinished album, an empty microphone, and questions nobody could answer. What makes a voice that powerful disappear so suddenly? And why do the people who burn brightest seem to burn out fastest? In this video, I'm breaking down 12 strange, little-known facts about Janis Joplin, including the secret relationship that destroyed her and the car that outlived her legend. Fact 1. The $2,500 revenge party. Port Arthur, Texas, 1960. A high school so cruel they voted a teenage girl ugliest man on campus. That girl was Janis Joplin. Overweight, acne, blues records nobody else understood. Football players spat on her, girls laughed. Teachers did nothing, and the yearbook immortalized it. 10 years later, she came back. By then, she played Woodstock top charts and pulled up to her reunion in a psychedelic Porsche worth more than their houses. This should have been the moment she dreamed of. The triumph over everyone who said she'd be nothing. Instead, the people who tortured her lined up for photos and autographs, pretending they'd always loved her. Janis smiled, signed, acted gracious. Then she told a reporter the one sentence that shattered the room: "I'd trade it all to have been accepted back then." Fame hadn't healed anything. Success didn't rewrite the story. The wounds stayed. 2 months later, she was gone. And in her will, she left Port Arthur $2,500 for an all-night party after her funeral. Open bar, everyone invited. A forced celebration hosted by the girl they tried to break. The reunion looked like victory. The party made it undeniable. Janis Joplin wrote the ending they never let her have. Fact 2, the performance that changed everything in 6 minutes. June 17, 1967, Janis Joplin was about to quit music forever. Then she walked on stage at Monterey Pop Festival wearing gold lame pants. 6 minutes later, her entire life had changed. But the performance that made her famous almost wasn't recorded at all. Big Brother and the holding company was nobody. Scheduled for Saturday afternoon when crowds were still arriving. The slot nobody wanted. They were sixth on a bill of 30 acts. Cameras weren't even planning to film them. Janis had been considering quitting, going back to Texas. Admitting music was a fantasy. She was 24, aging out, running out of chances. They played ball and chain. From the first scream, the festival stopped. 30,000 people went silent, then erupted. In the VIP section, Mama Cass's jaw literally dropped. Cameras caught it. That reaction became as famous as the performance. 6 minutes and 22 seconds of Janis pouring every rejection, every insult, every moment of Port Arthur torture into her voice. Not singing, exercising. Clive Davis, president of Columbia Records, was in the crowd. Signed her that night. No negotiation. Whatever she wanted. The documentary crew filming Monterey immediately added her performance to the film. They hadn't planned to include her. Her performance made that plan impossible. One afternoon slot. One song. 6 minutes that detonated her entire life trajectory. But here's what almost nobody knows. The documentary footage we all know, the legendary performance that made her famous? It almost didn't exist. The film crew had wrapped her act, stopped filming. A camera operator saw the crowd reaction and turned his camera back on for ball and chain. If he hadn't made that choice, we'd have no record of the moment that created a superstar. She walked off that stage unemployed and unknown, walked off famous. The breakthrough she'd been chasing for years happened in the time it takes to make a sandwich. Fact 3, the sponsorship deal that became a death sentence. 1968, a whiskey company offered Janis Joplin money to drink their product in public. She took the deal. She had no idea she'd just signed the deal that would help destroy her. What seemed like easy money became the trap that killed her. Southern Comfort approached her after Monterey. saw her drinking their whiskey in photos, offered her money to keep doing it publicly, make it part of her image. She was broke. Big Brother barely paid anything. She took the deal. Suddenly, every photo shoot included a bottle. Every interview mentioned it. Southern Comfort made her the face of their brand without calling it an endorsement. She was just the rock star who loves our whiskey. The problem was it worked too well. Fans started bringing bottles to shows, throwing them on stage. She felt obligated to drink them. The image became a cage. She couldn't perform without people expecting her to be drunk. Her drinking got worse. The expectation fed the addiction. Southern Comfort was making millions off her image while she was destroying herself trying to live up to it. She wanted to stop, couldn't. The brand was part of her identity now. 1970, she tried to get sober, wanted to break free from the whiskey image. But everywhere she looked, there were photos of her holding that bottle. Magazine covers? Posters. Album art. Southern Comfort had made her drinking iconic. She told friends she hated what the deal had done, hated that her biggest sponsor was killing her. But breaking the association meant admitting the tough rock star image was manufactured. She stayed trapped. 2 months before she died, she finally got sober, cut ties with the image, started fresh. Then she was gone. Southern Comfort kept using her image for decades. The woman who died trying to escape the bottle became the eternal face of it. The company made millions. She got a few $1,000s and an addiction she couldn't shake. Worst deal she ever made. Fact 4. The hotel room full of unsent letters. Room 411, Chelsea Hotel, New York City, 1969. Management found Janis Joplin unconscious among thousands of dollars of destruction. But what they found scattered in the wreckage was worse than the broken furniture. Dozens of crumpled letters, all trying to say the same impossible thing. She just left Big Brother and the holding company, the band that made her famous. She wanted to prove she was more than just a rock screamer, wanted sophistication, wanted respect. So she started over alone. That decision haunted her. Maybe she'd made a mistake. Maybe she'd destroyed the only good thing in her life. Maybe Big Brother was her ceiling and she just walked away from it. She checked into the Chelsea, drank Southern Comfort, then started breaking furniture, smashed windows, tore down curtains, shattered mirrors, thousands in damage. Hotel management opened the door, found her unconscious in the wreckage, started calculating repair costs, then noticed the papers. Dozens of crumpled letters scattered in the destruction, all addressed to her parents, all unfinished, all trying to explain why she couldn't come home, why she couldn't be the daughter they wanted, why music mattered more than their approval. She'd been writing that letter over and over, trying to find words that would make them understand. Every attempt failed. Every failure made her destroy one more thing. The hotel let her stay, didn't press charges, didn't leak the story. They understood what that room represented. An artist trying to explain herself to people who would never understand. Trying to justify her existence to the people who gave her life. The furniture could be replaced. The letters couldn't be written. Some conversations are impossible. That hotel room proved it. She cleaned up, moved on, never did send a letter that satisfied her. The relationship with her parents stayed broken. Not because she didn't try, because some gaps are too wide for words. Fact 5, the failure that saved her life's work. 1969, Janis Joplin made the biggest mistake of her career. She fired her successful band and created something critics called a disaster. But if she hadn't failed so spectacularly, her masterpiece would never have existed. Sometimes you have to destroy everything to find out what matters. She wanted horns, wanted soul, wanted to show she could do more than white blues rock. Big Brother made her famous playing raw, aggressive rock. She was done being boxed in. The Cosmic Blues Band debuted with full horn section, complex arrangements, sophisticated music. Reviews were vicious. Overproduced? Lost her edge. Trying too hard. Her voice was shot from overdrinking. Performances were disasters. She'd show up intoxicated. Forget lyrics. Audiences walked out. The album sold poorly compared to expectations. Tours lost money. Columbia Records was furious. They'd given her creative freedom and she'd made expensive garbage. She was hemorrhaging credibility. Musicians whispered. Industry people smirked. Told you so energy everywhere. The girl who left her successful band for artistic freedom had just proven she needed them more than they needed her. But here's the twist. The failure saved her. She fired everyone, got brutally honest about her drinking, formed Full Tilt Boogie Band with musicians she trusted, focused on what actually worked. The result was Pearl, her masterpiece, the album that defined her legacy. If Cosmic Blues had succeeded, she would have kept making mediocre, sophisticated music. The disaster forced her back to raw honesty. Sometimes you need to fail spectacularly to remember who you actually are. She died before Pearl was released. Never knew she'd created her best work. Never knew the failure had been necessary. The disaster led to the masterpiece. She just didn't live long enough to understand that. Fact 6, the train ride where cameras caught what she was hiding. Summer 1970. 5 days on a private train across Canada with the biggest rock stars in the world. Janis was the life of every party, drinking everyone under the table, teaching legends her songs. Then, in a quiet moment, a camera caught her saying something she'd never admitted in public. Her voice broke. And suddenly everyone understood what success hadn't fixed. The Festival Express, a traveling rock festival on rails. Between cities, musicians partied in private train cars. Janis was drinking everyone under the table, arm wrestling the dead, teaching them her songs. Completely alive. Cameras were everywhere, capturing the greatest musicians of the era at their peak. Janis singing with everyone, jamming constantly, the life of the party. Then the cameras caught something else. In quiet moments, she was profoundly alone, surrounded by musicians who adored her. Still isolated, she confessed to the camera, said she just wanted someone to love her. Her voice broke, saying it. Everyone was coupled up. She was single. Everyone had someone to retreat to when the party ended. She had hotel rooms and bottles. The success hadn't brought connection, just louder loneliness. 1 month after that train ride ended, she got engaged to Seth Morgan. Finally found someone. 2 months later, she was gone. The footage shows someone desperately seeking connection, running out of time without knowing it. 5 days of her trying to fill the emptiness with music, booze, and friendship. None of it working. The documentary wasn't released until 2003, 33 years after she died. By then, that train footage had become a prophecy. You can see her fighting to feel less alone. See it not working. See the clock running out. She thought she had decades to figure out love. She had weeks. The train ride captured her exactly as she was. Magnetic, talented, beloved, and completely, desperately alone. Fact 7, the song she couldn't finish. September 1970. Janis was recording the album that would define her legacy. She nailed 9 tracks. But there was one song she kept postponing. Said she'd finish the vocal after the weekend. That song is still waiting for her voice. Producer Paul Rothschild watched her transform. She'd been a disaster for years. Drunk, unreliable, emotionally volatile. Now she was a professional, showing up on time, nailing takes, laughing between songs. She recorded Mercedes-Benz a cappella in 1 take. No music, just her voice and snapping fingers. She joked around, nailed it, moved on. Me and Bobby McGee took 2 takes. The second take became the version everyone knows, the song that made her posthumously huge. She sang it casually. Didn't realize she was recording her biggest hit. But Buried Alive in the Blues kept getting postponed. She'd come to the studio. Record everything else. Look at that track on the schedule. Say she'd do it Monday, then Tuesday, then after the weekend. October 4th, 1970, the weekend. She died in her hotel room. The song sat unfinished. The album was released anyway. January 1971, Buried Alive in the Blues is track 9. 3 minutes and 55 seconds of full band instrumentation, no vocal. The microphone waiting for a voice that never came. Studio engineers later said something haunting. Every other song she seemed to be saying goodbye, like she knew. Buried Alive was the only one she couldn't finish. Maybe she knew that too. The album went number 1. Me and Bobby McGee hit number 1 on the singles chart. Janis became bigger dead than alive, all while that empty vocal track sat on the album. A ghost track, a reminder. She recorded 9 complete songs in September. Died before finishing the 10th. The album is perfect and heartbreaking. Every completed song a goodbye. The incomplete one a question. What was she going to say? We'll never know. Fact 8. The girlfriend she had to pretend didn't exist. Janis Joplin had a serious girlfriend for years. They loved each other, fought like married couples, planned futures together. But in 1969, admitting that relationship would have ended Janis's career. So she hid it, and the hiding destroyed everything. Peggy ran a San Francisco clothing boutique called Mesedica. She and Janis were involved for years, but Janis couldn't be public about it. So she dated men for the cameras while loving Peggy in private. The strain was unbearable. Every public relationship was a betrayal. Every man Janis was photographed with was Peggy watching her girlfriend pretend. Every interview where Janis talked about wanting a husband was a knife. The hiding was torture for both of them. They fought constantly about the secrecy, about the men, about the future they couldn't have. The relationship became toxic. Love twisted by the world's refusal to let them exist openly. 1970, Janis started dating Seth Morgan publicly, got engaged, tried to build a conventional life. Peggy was devastated. The woman she loved was marrying a man, choosing safety over truth. 2 months before Janis died, they had a final fight. Peggy couldn't watch her marry someone else. Janis couldn't live as an openly gay rock star. Not in 1970, not with her career finally working. The gap between what they wanted and what was possible destroyed them. After Janis died, Peggy wrote a book, Going Down with Janis, claimed to be the love of Janis's life, sold their secret relationship to the public, made money from the girlfriend she couldn't publicly mourn while Janis was alive. The woman who loved her became the woman who commercialized their relationship after death. The secret that protected Janis's career became a marketed tragedy. Everything Janis had fought to keep private became public property. The relationship that couldn't exist in daylight became a bestseller in death. Sometimes love isn't enough when the world won't let you live honestly. Fact 9. The interview that became a prophecy. June and July 1970, Janis Joplin appeared on the Dick Cavett show twice, 2 months apart. The transformation between them was shocking. In the first interview, she was drunk and defensive. In the second, she was sober and vulnerable. America watched her get herself together. Then 63 days later, she was dead. First appearance, June 25th, 1970. She's drunk, slurring words, defensive, talking about her image as a hard-partying rock star, playing a character. Seems lost. Cavett looks uncomfortable. The interview is awkward. she's performing Janis Joplin instead of being her. Second appearance, July 18th, 1970. She's sober, articulate, vulnerable. Talks about loneliness, about feeling like a freak in high school, about wanting to be loved, about the pressure. Cavett is moved to tears. The audience sees a real person, not the caricature, the woman behind the myth. The second interview aired August 3rd, 1970. America watched this vulnerable, hopeful Janis, saw her getting herself together, believed she turned a corner. For 2 months, that interview represented hope, proof she could survive. October 4th, 1970. She died. The interview instantly transformed, stopped being hope, became a goodbye letter. Every word recontextualized by her death. For 63 days between the airing and her death, people believed in her future. Then the future ended. The interview remained. A documentary of someone fighting to survive, losing. Cavett later said he watched that second interview differently after she died. Every moment of vulnerability became a warning sign he'd missed. Every laugh became painful. Every hope she expressed became tragedy. 2 months. That's how long the world got to believe Janis Joplin would be okay. Then the interview stopped being a conversation, started being evidence. Of what? Nobody quite agrees. Just that something important had been captured. Something true. Something final. Fact 10. The album cover fight that almost killed her masterpiece. 1968. Columbia Records looked at the Cheap Thrills album cover and said, no, absolutely not. It looked like a comic book. They wanted Janis's face, wanted glamour, wanted something they could sell. Janis threatened to walk away from the entire album. What happened next proved who understood rock and roll better. R. Crumb drew the cover. Psychedelic cartoons. Underground comic style. Absolutely nothing like a traditional album cover. Columbia executives were horrified. It looked amateur, weird, unmarketable. They wanted a glamorous Janis photo, sell her sex appeal, make her mainstream. The cover Crumb designed looked like a comic book you'd find in a head shop. They couldn't sell that to Middle America. Janis refused. Said Crumb's art represented the San Francisco scene authentically, represented her authentically. If they changed it, they were lying about who she was. She'd rather quit than release something fake. Columbia pushed back. They were the record company. She was a new artist. Big Brother hadn't sold huge numbers yet. She had no leverage, just rage. She got mean, threatened to breach her contract, told them to release her and watch her sign somewhere else, made their lives miserable. Eventually, they gave up. Kept Crumb's cover, released the album expecting failure. Cheap Thrills moved over 1 million copies in 1968, became one of the year's best-selling albums. The cover became iconic, one of rock history's most recognizable artworks. Crumb's cartoon drawing is now worth hundreds of thousands. If she'd listened to the suits, the album would have had a forgettable glamour shot, would have looked like every other 1968 release, would have disappeared. Instead, Crumb drew her into counterculture immortality. The label wanted safe. She fought for authentic won. They never admitted she'd been right, just cashed the checks and learned nothing. Fact 11, the triumph she thought was a disaster. August 17, 1969. 2 a.m. Janis Joplin walked off stage at Woodstock believing she just destroyed her career in front of 400,000 people. She was wrong, but she carried that shame for over a year before finding out the truth. The festival was chaos. Everything running hours late. She was scheduled for Saturday evening, sat backstage drinking, terrified, while delays mounted. Midnight passed. 1 a.m., finally she went on at 2 a.m. Sunday morning. 400,000 people in total darkness. She couldn't see them. They were invisible, just a void. She was stumbling drunk, voice ragged, convinced she was bombing. Work me Lord went on forever. She screamed herself hoarse. Band barely keeping up. She thought the crowd was silent because they hated her. They were silent because she'd left them speechless. She left the stage thinking she'd destroyed her career, embarrassed herself in front of the biggest audience she'd ever played, her biggest opportunity, and she'd blown it drunk. The documentary came out. Her performance was electrifying. Work Me, Lord became legendary. Critics called it one of the festival's defining moments. The performance she considered her worst became her most famous. She never knew. Died October 4th, 1970, 14 months after Woodstock. The documentary made her immortal. She thought she'd failed there. The Woodstock movie came out March 26, 1970. She was alive to see it. Finally saw her performance wasn't the disaster she believed. Got 6 months of knowing she'd been wrong. 6 months of understanding Woodstock had worked. But for 14 months between the performance and the film, she carried the belief she'd humiliated herself, carried that shame, let it feed every doubt. Found out she'd been magnificent only after most of the damage was done. Sometimes the performance that feels like failure is actually triumph. She learned that, just barely, just in time to die believing she'd actually mattered. Fact 12. The car that became worth more than her life. September 1970, days before her death. Janis bought a Porsche and had it painted with a psychedelic mural. Called it her hippie limousine. Drove it around Los Angeles feeling like she'd finally won. She owned it for 3 days. Today, that car is worth more than she made in her entire career. She'd made it, finally had money. Wanted something beautiful, something that screamed freedom. She custom ordered the paint job, history of the universe, mushrooms, butterflies, paisley everywhere. Her roadie did the artwork. She called it her hippie limousine. Drove it around Los Angeles feeling successful. Finally, after years of poverty, years of struggle, she had a custom Porsche. Physical proof she'd won. She owned it for 3 days. October 4th, 1970, dead in her hotel room. The Porsche sat in the parking lot, keys in her pocket. Her family kept the car. Couldn't sell it. Too connected to her last happy moments. Decades passed. The car became legendary. That paint job, that brief ownership, the symbol of success she barely got to enjoy. 2015, the car went to auction, sold for $1.76 million. A car she drove for 3 days became worth more than she made in her entire lifetime. The universe she had painted on it outlived her by 45 years. Museums displayed it. Exhibitions traveled with it. That Porsche became more famous than most musicians ever get. 3 days of her joy preserved in metal and paint. She thought she'd have decades with that car, have decades of success. Finally relax, enjoy what she'd built. She got 72 hours. The car's still around, still touring, still reminding people of the woman who owned it briefly. The paint hasn't faded, the story hasn't faded, just Janis faded. The car remains. A 3-day moment of happiness worth millions. A life cut short worth everything. Janis Joplin spent 27 years fighting for acceptance, fighting for artistic freedom, fighting addiction, fighting loneliness, fighting to be seen. Then she was gone, but the voice remains. The recordings remain. The car remains. The legend remains. She lost the fight to stay alive, but won everything else. That's the power of refusing to be quiet, of screaming until the world has no choice but to listen, of being so loudly yourself that even death can't silence you. If you like this video, you may also like other videos in our channel about beautiful ladies of yesteryear who changed everything.